Welcome everyone to the Speaking Part 2 Personal Experience Analysis. Before we start, I want to remind you that I will be following the Speaking Part 2 Personal Experience Tips and Strategies Guide. Now, you can find this guide in our CELPIP library in Speaking Part 2. And right over here is the Speaking Part 2 Tips and Strategies video. Now this video explains very clearly the guide and how to use it effectively to achieve your score. And in this analysis, I will be following the tips and strategies provided in that guide. If you would like to see that video and to get a better idea of the guide, please go to our library and you can watch that video. Okay, now let's get started with today's example of Speaking Part 2. So let's read this Part 2 Personal Experience question. Let's remember we have 30 seconds to prepare in the real exam, and speaking time is 1 minute, okay? All right. Let's read. Talk about a time you had an accident and hurt yourself. Okay. You can talk about a time you went to the hospital, broke a part of your body, or had a car accident. Okay, so any one of those. When did it happen? How did it happen? How did you deal with the accident? And how do you feel about it now? Okay. All right, so let's build an answer, and let's remember that I'm going to be using the speaking guide from our speaking guides part 2. And the most important part here will be about organizing your response. We want to be able to organize our response in a well-structured manner. This is very important for higher levels. You want to use good sequence and good connectors, okay? So I'm going to be using those, and I will explain as we go. All right, so let's start. So I'd like to speak about a time I suffered a terrible accident. Okay, so we're going to be talking about that. We want to try and change the words as much as we can. We want to say exactly had an accident, more suffered a terrible accident. Okay. Now we're going to get to the first part where we're going to answer when did it happen and how did it happen. Okay. First of all, this happened when I was taking a ski trip to the mountains a couple of years ago. So while I was going up the mountain on the ski lift with my son, suddenly he started to fall off the lift. So I tried to grab him, but we both fell together and his ski hit my leg. Okay, so it's important about this part. We want to use good sequencing. So suddenly, we want to use those connecting words, okay, those conjunctions. And also, remember that we want to try and speak everything in 1 minute. We don't want to give so much information. But I think these sentences here explain when did it happen and how it happened. So we want to make sure that we don't over-explain. This is something that some students have a difficulty. They want to explain everything so clearly, but that won't be possible because we only have 1 minute. Okay? So 3 or 4 sentences like this will be good. Let's see our next part, which we're going to explain how did you deal with the accident. Okay. Regarding how I dealt with the accident, well, my friend took me to the nearest hospital and the doctor stitched the cut on my leg. And he also bandaged the wound. Okay, now that may seem short, but let's remember something. Right now, this is not writing. Right now, what I'm trying to do is build an answer which I can say clearly and in a story-like manner in 1 minute. And I don't want to sound like I'm rushing. So this is why I could say so many things about how I dealt with the accident, but that's not what we want to do here. We're trying to build an answer we can say in the right time, okay? And let's get to the last part. Personally, up to now, when I think about that accident, I feel fortunate that I didn't get more seriously injured. But sometimes I laugh about the incident. Okay, so the first thing to note is that the level 7 to 9 student, they should be able to understand everything here and all the words we used, and they should be able to say this answer or understand it, I mean. Now, the part that is difficult for 7 to 9s is saying this answer in 1 minute and sounding more natural and sounding like you're telling a story with connection. That's the difficult part, okay? It's not really about the vocabulary or the language or the structures here. That's not really that important for 7 to 9. For part 2, I mean. It's about delivery. So that's what I'm going to try to illustrate you now. I'm going to try to illustrate speaking this in 1 minute. And I want you to listen, to read along, but very importantly is listen to how my tone fluctuates, okay? Because I want to make it sound natural. All right, okay? So please listen for that. And of course, we only have 1 minute. We also don't want to sound like we're going so fast. The best answers say everything well, slowly, clearly, and continuously. Okay? Okay, so I'm just going to time myself here. Okay. I'd like to speak about a time I suffered a terrible accident. First of all, this happened when I was taking a ski trip to the mountains a couple of years ago. So, while I was going up the mountain on the ski lift with my son, suddenly he started to fall off the lift. So I tried to grab him, but we both fell together and his ski hit my leg. Regarding how I dealt with the accident, well, my friend took me to the nearest hospital and the doctor stitched the cut on my leg and he also bandaged the wound. Personally, up to now, when I think about that accident, I feel fortunate that I didn't get more seriously injured, but sometimes I laugh about the incident. Okay, so you see, I said it there in about 55 seconds. And again, the important part is saying it like you're telling a story in a well organized manner and having those fluctuations in your speech because that's how we tell a story, okay? So to practice 7s to 9s, you need to be able to say this answer in 1 minute, but again, not like you're speed reading. You want to practice saying it, reading it in a well structured and with good speech and pronunciation. And the best way to test yourself will be, can you say this answer by yourself in 1 minute without reading it? That will be something to work on. Not for memory, because we seven to nines, they don't memorize anything. They speak from their knowledge. The level 9, especially 9, 10, they need to have this language easily in their knowledge, okay? So sometimes, and also the level 9s, they will be able to read this sample answer and understand everything clearly, and then they should be able to speak it clearly. So remember, the more practice, the better that you will get. I would like to remind you that if you're looking for some more listening, reading, writing, or speaking CELPIP exam practice, then you should definitely subscribe to our CELPIP library. The CELPIP library has hundreds of examples of listening, reading, writing, and speaking, which will help you develop your score, whatever the score you need. Also, the library contains vocabulary, listening skills, reading skills, grammar, and writing skills exercises, which will really help you improve your general understanding of English and also for the exam. So, and you can purchase a 1 month pass or a 2 month or a 3 month subscription for a very low price. And of course, if you really enjoyed this content, then please like this video, share it, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way we will keep on producing more CELPIP analysis for your development. Have a great day.